Okay, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. So hello everyone, welcome to our October General Assembly meeting. I'm Sydney Stark, I'm the Student Government President. We have quite a bit on the agenda today. So we have our call to order, which is right now, and then we have our guest speaker, Michaela Wells. She's going to be talking about SABC and how your organization can get funding. We have some involvement updates, approval of the minutes, reports, new business, and then the meeting can be adjourned. Okay, so here's our guest speaker. So Michaela, go ahead and take it away.
Perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. For those of you who I haven't met yet, Michaela Wells, she, her, hers, and I'm the coordinator for student organizations and fraternity and sorority life in the Office of Student Involvement. And so one of my big responsibilities as that coordinator is that I oversee the Student Activity Budget Committee and their budget. So Sydney, if you'll go ahead and go to the next slide for me. Thank you. All right, so some important budget updates from the SABC is that for the fall 2022 budget request period, the last day to submit requests for that is going to be November 2nd at 11:55 p.m. We actually have gotten so many requests this semester, which has been amazing, and we're so excited that you guys are using the funding, that we actually have a little over $3,400 left in the budget for this semester. So if that 3,400 is gone next week when SABC meets, then there will be no more money to give out for this semester. So a notification will go out if that does happen. Obviously, most of you know that most requests are like $200 or less, unless it's like catering for a big event or something like that. So we should be good. That should last the rest of the semester, but we will keep you updated if it does run out. And so sorry, I don't know why that's showing up as 2 bullet points, the little yellow part, but anyways, all payment requests for anything that you've gotten allocated money for in the fall 22 budget period, those payment requests must be submitted by November 22nd. So I would, as I'm talking, if I was you, probably screenshot if you're on your phone, or try and take a screenshot on your computer if you know how to do that, of this slide, because this is like, I'm going to send out a follow-up meeting. Oh my goodness, follow-up email this afternoon to all presidents and treasurers that has this information. But if you want to message it to your treasurer right now to make sure that you guys are getting the stuff in that you need to before the end of the semester, this is like the most important slide from me, at least, that they need to know about. So go ahead and screenshot if you would like. Otherwise, you can watch the recording later and make sure that they get that. So those are all of the fall budget details. So if you're going to submit another budget request for money that you need before the end of the semester, you need to submit that by November 2nd, or as soon as possible is better, because that pot is getting a little bit low. And then any payment requests connected to money you've already been allocated need to be submitted by November 22nd at 11:55 p.m. All right, so that's fall budget requests. So for the spring semester, every semester, for those of you that don't know, you could say on that last slide, Sydney, sorry. Each semester, to start off the semester, we do an early budget request period. And that is always for the first 4 weeks of that next upcoming semester. And we do that because, as a lot of you know, if you're hosting an event the first or second week of classes, Michaela's life is very chaotic, and she probably cannot help you once we get to that week. So by submitting the money in the semester prior, it allows me a month or so, depending on which semester it is, to get all of those requests in and get all of those things ordered for you all, or at least have them on my radar to make sure they get paid in those first 2 weeks. And so the early spring budget requests, those are going to be for any events occurring January 17th through February 15th. Those budget requests need to be submitted between November 3rd and November 22nd. On Try and Connect in your portal, you will see a separate budget listed that says early spring 2023. So that's where you will make those requests. I'm going to probably create a new how to submit a budget request video that includes this early spring option, just to make it a little bit easier for everyone so we don't get confused and submit it in the wrong budget period. So if you're planning on having an event in your student organization from January 17th to February 15th, those requests for money for that need to be submitted no later than November 22nd at 11:55. So that's coming up on us. November 22nd is like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So if you're like, Michaela, I'm super stressed, I have a lot going on with classes until Thanksgiving, well, you have 2 breaks of 2 days of that week break that you have for the Thanksgiving holiday, that you can get on Try and Connect and submit those. So just one of those dates to be on your radar. Like I said, I'll be sending out a follow-up email this afternoon or maybe Monday morning first thing, with these updates and these dates, so everyone knows to be getting their budget requests in. And then a new update that we are going to do and we're going to implement in the spring semester. Sydney, if you'll go to the next slide now. For the spring semester, any event that has SABC funding must have the attendance recorded in Try and Connect for the event. So your event should already be posted if it's being paid by SABC, because then if it's not, how would anyone know to come to your event? That's not just in your student organization. And as a reminder, student activity fees are supposed to be used for an event that's open to most or all students. So your event should already be posted in Try and Connect. So you're going to want to make sure that you're adding in the attendance for those events as well within 2 weeks from the date of your event. So this is similar if you guys are part of, if your organization does Commuter Cash events, that's similar to the rule for Commuter Cash. If you're not already part of Commuter Cash, this will help you become a part of that because you'll be uploading your attendance there for that as well. So if your event does not have the attendance recorded for it, the next time that you request funding from SABC, you will not be awarded any future funding until you start recording the attendance for your events. So make sure that we're recording attendance. I'm going to make a little video on how to check people into your event using the Try and Connect app or the website. So you guys aren't in the dark, like, wait a minute, Michaela, you told me we have to do this. We don't know what we're doing. I promise I'll make a video on that so you guys can watch it, and all of your people in your organization that are running your events can also watch it and be prepared. So that's just a new update. This will also be included in that email, but it's just important that we know that you guys do actually have people coming to these events that we're funding, and just making sure that people are getting access to the events that are happening on campus. So those were the 3 updates I had. If there's any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat if you haven't already. Yeah.
Michaela, I have a question. So you mentioned budget request and I believe purchase request. Can you maybe talk about, those are kind of similar sounding terms? Can you maybe decipher those two very clearly for everyone?
Yes. So when you want to ask SABC if you can get money to plan your event or pay for something, when you're asking if you can even do that, that's a budget request. So that's you coming to SABC and saying, hey, Michaela and SABC committee, we want to have an event on this day that's more than 4 weeks from this day right now. And so we are asking if you will give us this much money because this is what we're spending it. This is what we want to spend it on. And so then that's a budget request. You're asking SABC for money. Once SABC allocates the money to you, so after SABC meets me and my program manager, Chris, we go in and allocate the funds. Once you have an allocation, then next to your budget request, it will pop up a button that says request payment. That's the payment request process. Once you click that button, that's you asking either me or someone in our office to order something for you, pay for something for you, or reimburse you for something you paid for. So budget request is asking if you can have money. Payment request is asking for the money to be spent or reimbursed to you.
Awesome. Michaela, Ryan in the chat was asking what's the earliest you can request food or things like that. So do you want to kind of go over that timeline and maybe like how often SABC meets? I think that's important for students to know.
Yeah, so the earliest you can request things with our processes. So for SABC, we like to keep it within the semester that you're requesting money for. So if you're having an event in the spring and it's not in that first 4-week period, go ahead and wait till the spring semester starts to submit that request. If you want to talk to like Sodexo to get food, you can always talk to Sodexo whenever and schedule it literally like months and months away. Our office is like notorious for scheduling things with Sodexo for like 7 months away, which is actually really helpful to them because then they can plan their schedule around your event. If it's already on the calendar, then you're like the priority when they're scheduling other things. At the minimum, you need to make sure that you know how much money you're wanting to spend 4 weeks prior to your event, because that's how the minimum amount of time before an event you can submit a budget request. So 4 weeks is the minimum. Really any time before is the maximum.
And Michaela, did you say how often SABC meets?
Oh, I did not. So SABC meets normally every week, sometimes every other week, depending on schedules or how many budgets come in. So it's usually every week, and we are meeting on Thursdays, Wednesdays. Oh my gosh, I forgot. We meet Wednesday or Thursdays. We meet Thursdays. Now in the past it's been on Fridays, but we meet on Thursdays now. So any budgets that are submitted Wednesday night or before will get reviewed at the Thursday SABC meeting.
And what if my student org and I just aren't quite organized enough and we don't meet that 4-week deadline? That's a pretty hard deadline, right? Like you don't really have wiggle room there.
Nope, unfortunately we do not.
Okay. So student orgs, I would suggest like creating like a little exec meeting where you just plan out some events, utilize those funds. But unfortunately, just with the logistics that go into SABC and the requests and the payments and the contracts and the calling restaurants and blah, like we just need that time. So I understand that's frustrating. I remember when I was a student, I was like, 4 weeks, are you kidding me? I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. But it's really important. So at least try to get those events that you're wanting to ask SABC funding for on the books.
And then we just kind of threw in, I may inform both liver disease on
Rookie, unmute mistake.
I also will add, while we're just talking about minimum timeframes, for any of you that are like requesting space using Mazevo, they have a limit that you have to request space a minimum of 2 weeks before the event. So if you've been like, oh, we need space for our student org meeting next Thursday, it's too late to request that space. So make sure you're at least with spaces, if it's an event at no cost, at least 2 weeks beforehand, just so you're aware of that as well. Yes, even tabling, because it's all in that Mazevo system. And Mazevo automatically like locks 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks at whatever day it is.
And we fully understand that there are a lot of processes. It's confusing. It's a lot of different deadlines. So I think I speak for myself when I am happy to sit down with some folks and brainstorm a timeline. We have some really great student program managers that program regularly that could meet with you. Like if you're having trouble, trust me, same. If you're having trouble keeping this all straight, we're in the process of creating some resources, but who knows when those will be, actually, hopefully soon. But if you just want to sit down with one of us, talk through your timeline for the spring, when should we do stuff, we are happy to do that. I'm also going to send the event services email in the chat. Another weird thing about UMSL that I'm sure you've realized is that there's different offices for every piece of the puzzle, and it's very frustrating. But you should know, like, we have nothing to do with Mazevo. And so unfortunately, when you all reach out to us about space requests, we want to help you, but that's not under our purview. So that's actually under the MSC Event Services folks. And your Sodexo orders are under the Sodexo, like, we understand. And so we really are trying to make some resources. If any of you program and kind of see some pitfalls, or maybe are like, wow, that's really frustrating, like, please send student involvement in email, because we are collecting kind of FAQs, where are people struggling, and we're going to create some resources hopefully over the winter break. So Mazevo is not us. It is event services, but always feel free to like see student involvement if you'd like. I do check that, so at least we could all kind of stay on the same page. But we understand it is frustrating, and we're trying to make it as seamless as possible. Trust me, we are on the same boat. If you can't tell by our great smiley faces. If it helps, we have to go through these same processes even to reserve space and things, so we get it.
Any last questions for me?
Michaela, I do real quick, just since you're sitting right there. I know that you and I were messaging back about one of our budget requests we just put back in. My question is, I've been sending other messages to you. Since you sent me that first message, does that mean that budget request is no longer viable, or should I re-request something else, or is it still a conversation? I sent a couple messages and I thought, oh, I don't know if that really makes any difference. I don't know if, are we still talking about it, or should I send something else? Should I readjust and do something differently?
Right. Let me look at your messages and send you a follow-up email.
Yeah, you're fine. It doesn't have to be at this meeting. I'm trying to, this is all brand new to me as well. And, you know, so we're trying to figure all this out and like go through these steps. And I thought, oh, well, here's a response. I'll respond. Maybe we can readjust and do something differently. Like, that's my question, is like, is that what we do? Or is it just, no, that's dead, now retry, do something different? Just so we know.
So normally, if you've submitted a budget request, this goes for everyone. If you've submitted a budget request and the approved amount says 0, it doesn't say like pending approval. For normal circumstances, if that says 0, that means that it was denied by SABC. And in the notes, it should have like a reasoning of why that happened. So if that has been allocated as $0, then that means that it was denied. So in that situation, if you feel like there's like, this goes for everyone, I'm not just talking straight to Bob. If you feel like there was like a misunderstanding with SABC for the budget request, or there's some thing that you feel like you need to communicate with SABC regarding that request, you can always, if there was a question posed in the notes where that denial happened, you can respond to the question right there. If there's not a question put in there, I would always just, as a like normal practice, I would send an email to the sabc@umsl.edu email. Thank you, Mindy, you're on it. And ask like, hey, I just wanted to add some more notes about this request. I saw that it was denied. Can we have a further discussion about it? Bob, for this one, I'll go in and look at the notes and then send you a follow-up email, like I said. Normally, if there's questions that SABC has about a budget request, we will either email from the SABC email asking those questions, or we might, in this notes section on the budget, put it in the notes as a question. Because for those of you that have used the notes function or have added a note to your budget request, you know, it sends you an email, it sends you a push notification on your app if you have those turned on. So it's pretty accessible to just have it right there on the budget request to keep everything straight. But if we have done that and we haven't got an answer back, we probably will send an email from the SABC email. So just as a rule of thumb, if there's a question posed in the notes, we probably haven't denied the allocation. We'll just leave it unapproved and ask the follow-up question. If the allocation has been denied, it will have a note next to it that says like a reasoning or what percentage it was allocated at if it wasn't allocated fully. So Bob, I'll follow up with you, but as a rule of thumb for everyone, just know if there's a question posed, it won't be denied. That just means we have more questions before we approve it and allocate it. But if it has been denied, there will just be an allocation of $0 there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Did anything else come in the chat, or those just the emails you sent?
I have a question.
Yeah, hi, Anna.
The videos detailing how to submit a budget request, would those be uploaded to the OSI YouTube?
Yes, there's actually one on there right now. If you want to check that out, let me grab the link of the YouTube page so I can just put it in the chat for you all. Because we have a Triton Connect playlist on our YouTube. And that is the one budget that's currently, or the one video that's currently on there. So let me send that in the chat. And like I said, I probably will send this follow-up email on Monday morning, now that I'm realizing I should also include a video that specifically says to choose early spring request in the budget drop-down menu. So I will send them email on Monday with a video similar to this one. It will be all the same steps, but it will just make sure that it dictates that you have to choose early spring as the budget before you add details. But
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Kayla, when you say send an email, who's getting those emails?
The president and treasurer of your student organization will be the ones getting that.
Perfect. And then I don't know if you ever mentioned, how much does SABC have a semester to allocate?
We have $40,000 per semester.
Okay. Good job, everyone, for using your money this semester.
Yeah, it's been wild. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. I know that all of my updates are usually confusing. There's a lot of dates and deadlines, and I'm sorry for that. But I think it's better that we communicate all those dates and deadlines so that you all at least have them in your back pocket when you're wondering what you should be doing. So if you didn't take a screenshot of that last slide that was before this one, make sure that you pay attention for that email on Monday. But yeah, thank you all for your time.
Hey, Michaela, I just have one more question.
Yeah, Max.
Where can we find you?
In the Office of Student Involvement when I'm not in meetings.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any other last minute questions for Michaela? Awesome, and if you think of any after this meeting or whenever you're doing budget requests, just feel free to reach out and they'll be able to answer those. So thank you so much for Michaela joining us today. We really appreciate it. All right, so now we have some student involvement updates. Mindy, if you want to go ahead and let us know what's going on.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Mindy Dilly, she, her, hers. I'm the Associate Director of Student Involvement, and I also advise SGA, so that's why I'm always in your meetings. I'm also just like big fan, so here I am. Student Involvement's excited to kind of, I feel like COVID really threw a wrench in a lot of things, and I feel like this fall was finally our first, I don't even want to say back to normal because it's still around, but we're having more in-person events. We're kind of getting back to the ways that things used to be. And now we're kind of in that phase with like, okay, we rushed into this part because we were excited, but now people are confused. We're trying to have better systems in place that make things streamlined. We have Triton Connect now that's really rocking and rolling. How can we, really use that to our benefit? So I think the spring, you'll actually see a lot more like educational materials from student involvement in terms of how can my student organizations be successful? How can we host events? Who do we need to talk to for this? Who do we need to talk to for that? Because poor Michaela, her email is disgusting. I think I get a lot of emails because she gets SABC questions, she gets student organization questions, she gets fraternity and sorority life questions, she gets printing questions, she gets transcript questions. So you should know one thing we're already working on, just to put on your radar, is that we're really trying to make sure that Michaela's personal email is like business in terms of like her job here at UMSL and like what she needs to do for us. So if you have questions about like SABC, we're really kind of gonna be pushing you to please email SABC. If you have questions about student organizations, we're actually creating a student organization inbox. Just because Michaela's, as some of you are probably waiting for responses, she gets bogged down by emails. And we're just trying to make it to where you can get the best help as quickly as possible. I know I said this last time, but student involvement at umsl.edu is always a great catch-all too. That's our front desk. That's like our office. I check that. All of our coordinators have access because, everybody, Michaela's not the only one that knows things. So sometimes if, say you're waiting on a response from Michaela, or you don't want to just add her an email, that's something kind of quick and easy, shoot it to student involvement and I'll probably respond to you within a couple hours. So, or someone on our front desk. So just know that's kind of coming down the pipeline. And it's all to be more streamlined and to help you better. I think we'll all kind of go through, now who do I email? Oh shoot, I emailed the wrong one. Like we'll work through that together, but we're excited to do that. So Sydney, if you don't mind transferring or advancing the slide one real quick. There were a few things that student involvement has coming up. You should know this is not everything. Please check the Triton Connect events on your app or on the web. I know I use it all the time, and that whole project was Michaela's initiative. So if you are not on Triton Connect, it is slick. We're working through the kinks, but it's already leaps and bounds better than any of the prior processes that we've had. But do know that Hispanic Heritage Month goes through the middle of this month. It began on September 15th, and there are a few events still kind of on the agenda for that. LGBTQ plus History Month is the whole month of October. So I know that's kind of confusing because you're like, wait, but it's Hispanic Heritage Month. They do the half of September, half of October. LGBTQ plus history is all of October. There's a lot of events for that coming up. One in particular, you'll see 2 bullets below, is the drag show. That is a beloved event that our office, along with Prism, used to host every year. I would say it's probably been on a 3 or 4 year hiatus, and it is coming back. So it is a free drag show. We are paying drag king and queens to come. It's going to be like a nice thing like to watch. It won't be some janky thing thrown together. So it's going to be on a Friday night, totally free. Come check that out before you go do whatever you all choose to do on a Friday evening that I don't want to hear about. But please make sure you check those out. I know you've heard us talk about Triton Connect, Triton Connect, Triton Connect. Michaela is hosting help sessions. If you see the third bullet, she's already hosted one and there's 2 this month. So make sure that's just pop in. If you have questions, herself or her student program manager, Chris, will be there. Or even if you don't have specific questions and you just want to be in a space where maybe you can work on stuff if some questions come up, or maybe you're like, what's this portal thing? Make sure you attend those. They're all via Zoom, I believe. Yes, Michaela has it. Yes. And then lastly, I want to make sure that I point out Trunk or Treat. So this is an event that we always do the Saturday before Halloween. It's kind of our largest service event in the fall. It's a big community kind of thing. And we provide all of the candy, all of the goodies for the goodie bags. But we need to provide the trunks to create a cool, fun little atmosphere for the little kiddos to walk down. So you all presidents probably, or student org officers, got an email about a week ago about registering a trunk. I threw the link there on the site. I'll also throw it in the chat. Several orgs have already signed up for that, so thank you. But it's 12 to 2 on that Saturday. I think you have to be there at 11. Go get 3 service hours, decorate a trunk, wear a costume, and the kiddos enjoy it a lot. So if you want to do that, literally really no cost to you unless you want to kind of go all out with decorations. But heck, even if you just threw a blue sheet on there and then, I don't know, looked like a fish or something, like kids love it. They just want to be, involved. So check that out. If you want a trunk, you have to sign up by the 22nd. So the event itself is on the 29th. If you want a trunk, 22nd. All the dates, I know, but any questions over those events or student involvement questions or anything like that? Okay, don't forget student involvement at umsl.edu is a catch-all email because poor Michaela is drowning. I had a one-on-one with her last week. We were together for 20 minutes and I think she got like 23 emails. So I'm here to help too. I know things sometimes. Thank you.
All right, does anyone have any questions about student involvement or anything? Awesome, no worries. As always, if you do think of any, just use the email in the chat and we'll get back to you. Okay.
Mindy, I'm not afraid to send those emails to everybody. So I'll be happy to dump some of my Michaela emails your way.
Yes, do so. I got you.
I love it. Okay, so we need to approve the minutes from our last meeting. So that is going to be the assembly meeting of September. So is there a motion to approve? Just to let everyone know, anyone can motion to approve the minutes and anyone can second. So you don't have to
I motion to
be part of
approve.
Student Government Association.
Second.
Awesome. Is there a second? Wonderful. So the meeting minutes are approved. Thank you, guys. Excuse me. Okay. So I just have one little thing here. So due to some things with SGA and then with the UMSL PD, we've decided that we are going to move the safe walk to the spring just because of some staffing issues over there, and then just some planning things with us. We think it's going to be best and it'll be a little bit more well organized if we have a little bit more time to do it. So an exact date for that is going to be announced at the next meeting, but the safe walk is going to be moved to the spring. So it is no longer that October date. The date will be announced, but sometime in the spring. Apologies for any inconveniences with that, but does anyone have any questions? Awesome. Okay. All right, and so moving on, is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up? I'm just going to give everyone just a second here, just make sure nothing gets popped in the chat. Okay, not looking like there's any new business. So with that, we're going to move on. So with that, this meeting is adjourned. So thank you all for attending. Thank you for listening to us about SABC funding, about some student involvement updates, about the Safe Walk update. I'll put the attendance sheet in the chat in 1 second. Until then, do we have any questions? You can always contact us as well. Okay. So it looks like there was one. I'm actually going to. There was one question real quick. So Jonathan, can you just explain a little bit more what you mean by the senator meeting ? While he is clarifying that, I'm going to go ahead and put the attendance in the chat.
Sydney, I think he was wondering if there used to be 2 SGA meetings. One was General Assembly and then one was for the senators, but everyone was welcome to attend. We just couldn't speak. We haven't heard anything about the second meeting.
Yep. So all of our Senate meetings are open. So if you are interested in attending those, you can definitely email me and I'll be able to give you the information for those. We do those in person. So they are held either in one of the meeting rooms in the MSC or in our office or the OSI suite, just kind of depending on what we have available to us at that time. And they are hosted. We kind of do them relatively bi-weekly, so we don't host them every single Friday like we used to in the past. I can get you the exact dates to those if you are interested in attending. With that, we mainly just do Senate-related programming, so it's not super organization-wide, and we don't normally talk about organization events or organization happenings. We mainly talk about what we are doing as a Senate, how we think the assembly meetings are going, about our senators' personal passion projects or resolutions, or any general resolutions that are being brought up to us, as well as committees and how the committees are going, committee reports, and any concerns just regarding student government. If you are interested in attending those, by all means, they are still open to the general student body. And if you want, you can always email me and I can get you the information for that as well. But these are not required either, but those are not required at all either. Okay. I hope that answered the question. I've also put the attendance form in the chat. And so once you have filled that out, if you have no further questions, comments, concerns, you are more than welcome to leave. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Friday and a great, safe weekend.